The galaxy was not a quiet place. Ships flew between stars, empires fought for power, and danger was never far away. In this vast universe, Captain Ethan Cole lived by one rule: protect those who cannot protect themselves. Ethan was a human, was tall, with dark hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He worked as a mercenary, someone who fought for money. But unlike many others, Ethan had a strong heart. He did not fight for greed or cruelty. He fought for what was right. One day, while traveling through a dangerous star system, Ethan's ship picked up a weak distress signal. It was unusual, faint, and filled with pain. Curious and cautious, Ethan followed the signal to a small planet, covered in rocky deserts and dark skies. On the planet's surface, he found a hidden cave. Inside, lying on cold stone, was a creature unlike any he had ever seen. She was tall and elegant, with skin that shimmered in colors he could not name. Her eyes were closed, and her breathing was slow. This was Queen Saren of the Vreltari, a powerful alien race feared across many worlds. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. The Vreltari were known as fierce warriors. Many humans and aliens hated them or were afraid of them. But here, in this silent cave, Saren looked fragile, almost human in her pain. He quickly examined her wounds. She had been shot by strange energy, weapons, and had lost much blood. Without hesitation, Ethan used the medical supplies on his ship to treat her. Time was short. If he did not act fast, the Queen would die. As he worked, Ethan felt a growing respect for this strange alien. He could sense her strength, but also her vulnerability. For a moment, he forgot the war and the politics. There was only one truth: she needed help. Suddenly, footsteps echoed outside the cave. Ethan looked up. A group of hostile soldiers from a nearby faction had found him. "They aimed their weapons, ready to attack. Get away from her!" Ethan shouted. He grabbed his blaster and fired, forcing the soldiers to retreat. But he knew they would return with more forces. He had no time. He carefully lifted Saren into his arms and ran back to his ship. The engines roared as he lifted off the dusty planet, leaving danger behind. As the ship moved through space, Ethan stayed by Saren's side. He monitored her condition, gave her oxygen, and whispered words of comfort. Slowly, Saren opened her eyes. They were deep and bright, filled with ancient wisdom. She looked at Ethan with surprise, pain, and something else: gratitude. "Why, help me?" she asked in a soft, strange voice. "Because it's the right thing to do," Ethan answered simply. "No matter who you are." Saren nodded weakly. She tried to sit up, but Ethan gently pushed her back. "Rest. You need strength," he said. For the first time, Saren saw the kindness in a human, a species her people had never trusted. She felt a flicker of hope. Days passed. Ethan cared for the Queen with skill and patience. Slowly, she grew stronger. One evening, when the stars shone bright outside the ship's windows, Saren invited Ethan to the ship's observation deck. There, away from guards and war, they talked like two old friends. Saren told stories of the Vreltari, their proud history, their struggles, and their dreams for peace. Ethan shared tales of Earth, of humanity's mistakes and hopes. For a moment, the endless war and fear seemed far away. They were just two beings reaching out across the stars. When night fell, the Queen surprised Ethan by asking him to stay. Not as a prisoner, but as a guest. She wanted to learn more about him, about humanity. That night, under the glow of distant suns, they shared a quiet moment, a connection born from trust and courage. But before dawn, Ethan made a difficult choice. He could not stay. His duty called him to other battles, other lives to save. Without warning, he left the ship, disappearing into the vastness of space. Saren watched his ship fade into the darkness, feeling a deep sadness and hope she could not explain. She had been saved by a stranger, a human. And in that night, she glimpsed a future where their two worlds might stand together. 5 years had passed since Captain Ethan Cole vanished from Queen Saren's life. The stars continued to burn in the dark skies, but the memory of that night lingered like a quiet flame in Saren's heart. The galaxy was no less dangerous now. Wars had moved from planet to planet, and new threats rose from the shadows. The Vreltari Empire, once proud and strong, now faced enemies that tested their strength like never before. Queen Saren ruled with wisdom and courage, but inside she often felt a strange emptiness. The man who had saved her life and shared that night with her was gone without a trace. No one knew where he had disappeared. Rumors spread across the galaxy. Some said Ethan had died in a secret battle. Others whispered that he had been captured or betrayed. But Saren refused to believe any of it. She knew deep inside that he was still alive. She sat in her private chambers aboard the flagship Vrel-Tar, watching the stars through the large window. Her mind traveled back to that night, the quiet conversations, the stories, the trust between two beings from very different worlds. "I will find him," she whispered to herself. Meanwhile, far away from the Vreltari Empire, Ethan lived in the shadows. He was no longer a captain of a grand ship. Instead, he hid among the small human colonies on the edge of known space. The colonies were rough places, dusty, isolated, often lawless. But here, no one recognized him. Ethan's life was difficult. He had to move often, never staying in one place too long. Many enemies wanted him dead, or worse. The people who had attacked Queen Saren 5 years ago were still hunting him. They feared what he knew, and they feared his loyalty to the Queen. Ethan's days were spent gathering information, training, and preparing for a future he wasn't sure would come. He knew the galaxy was on the edge of chaos, and only a few could stop the coming storm. Despite the dangers, Ethan never forgot the Vreltari Queen. Her image was always in his mind, strong, proud, but kind. Her trust had given him a new purpose. One evening in a dusty cantina on the planet Korath, Ethan met with a small group of trusted allies. They were humans and aliens who believed in peace between their peoples. "We can't keep hiding," Ethan said quietly, his voice steady but tired. "The war is coming. The factions are preparing to attack the Vreltari Empire. If we don't act, millions will die." A young woman with silver hair called Mira nodded. "We need to warn Queen Saren. She must know the truth." "But how?" another man asked. "The Empire doesn't trust outsiders anymore, and you disappeared 5 years ago. What if they think you betrayed them?" Ethan looked at the faces around him. Tired, hopeful, determined. He knew he had to find a way back to the Queen. "We will find a way," he said. "We have to." Back on the Vrelthar, Queen Saren's own intelligence network was working tirelessly. Her best agents searched for any sign of Ethan. Every report was studied carefully, a shadow here, a whisper there. One day, a message reached her. A small colony on the edge of the galaxy had seen a man matching Ethan's description. He was living quietly, helping people and building alliances. Saren's heart raced. It was hope. She called her closest advisor, Commander Thalor. "Prepare a team. We leave at once. It's time to find Ethan." The journey was long and dangerous. The ship passed through asteroid fields, dodged pirate attacks, and crossed uncharted space. But Saren felt stronger than ever. She was ready. Meanwhile, Ethan received a strange message, encrypted, sent through secret channels. It was from Saren herself. "We have to meet," the message said simply. "The galaxy is changing. Your help is needed. Trust no one but me." Ethan stared at the message, emotions swirling inside him. Relief, fear, hope. He knew accepting the call could change everything. He packed what little he had and prepared to leave the safety of the colony. The night before his departure, Ethan stood outside under the stars, thinking of the Queen. He remembered the night they shared, the promise of something greater between their worlds. "This is just the beginning," he whispered. As he boarded the small shuttle that would take him to meet Saren, Ethan felt the weight of years fall from his shoulders. He was no longer alone. He was ready to face whatever came next. The Vrel-Thar sliced through the darkness of space, its powerful engines humming steadily. Queen Saren stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the endless stars ahead. This journey was unlike any other she had made. After 5 long years of searching, hope burned fiercely inside her. She was going to find Ethan Cole, the man who saved her life and vanished without a word. Commander Thaler stood beside her, silent and watchful. His loyalty to Saren was unshakable, but even he could feel the weight of what was to come. "We are close to the colony where he was last seen," Thaler reported. "Sensors show unusual activity, increased patrols and encrypted communications." Saren nodded. "They must be hiding something. We must be careful." On the human colony of Korath, the small desert town bustled with activity. Traders bartered, workers repaired ships, and children laughed in the dusty streets. But beneath the surface, tension crackled like a storm ready to break. Ethan Cole had been here only a few days, but already he felt the eyes of old enemies watching. His allies worked quickly to gather information, trying to uncover the growing threat to both humans and the Vrel-Tari. Inside a crowded cantina, Ethan sat with Mira and a few trusted friends. The air was thick with smoke and the low hum of voices. "Fi, have to move fast," Ethan said, his voice low. "The coalition of hostile factions is growing stronger every day. They want to crush the Vrel-Tari Empire before it can unite with humans." Mira frowned. "But why? What do they gain from this war?" "Control," Ethan replied. "Power. They fear what we can become if we stand together." Suddenly, a comlink beeped. Ethan's face grew serious as he read the incoming message. "It's from Saren," he said quietly. "She's on her way." The news spread quickly. The colony's atmosphere shifted from tension to hope. Ethan's return was no longer a secret. Meanwhile, aboard the Vrel-Thar, Queen Saren studied the data her scouts had sent. The hostile factions were amassing fleets near the border planets. If they attacked soon, the Vrel-Tari Empire could fall. Before any help arrived, Saren called a meeting with her top commanders. "We cannot fight this war alone," she said firmly. "We need allies, human and alien alike. Ethan Cole holds the key. He has built connections in the colonies and he knows the enemy." Commander Thaler stepped forward. "Should we send an envoy to meet him?" "No," Saren replied. "I will go myself." The decision surprised many. A queen walking into danger was rare, but Saren was no ordinary leader. As the Vrel-Thar approached Korath, the colony prepared for the queen's arrival. A small landing party waited to escort her safely to the town. Ethan stood among them, heart pounding. He had not seen Saren since that night 5 years ago. So much had changed, yet the memory of her smile stayed with him. When Saren stepped down from the ship, time seemed to slow. The crowd parted as she walked toward Ethan. Their eyes met, fierce, hopeful, full of unspoken words. "Ethan," Saren said softly. "Your Majesty," Ethan replied, bowing his head respectfully. Saren smiled, then looked around. "We have little time. The enemy grows stronger. We must act quickly." Together, they entered a quiet room where they could speak freely. Ethan shared everything he had learned about the coalition's plans: secret bases, weapons stockpiles, and spies within the Vrel-Tari Empire. Saren listened carefully, her mind racing. We must unite our forces, she said. Only by working together can we survive. But many don't trust humans, Ethan warned. They see us as weak or dangerous. Saren's eyes burned with determination. Then we will prove them wrong. Over the next days, Saren and Ethan traveled to nearby colonies and outposts, meeting leaders and building alliances. Their combined presence inspired hope. Stories spread of the human who saved the alien queen and the queen who stood beside him. At each meeting, they faced suspicion and hostility, but also moments of friendship and understanding. Slowly, a new coalition began to form, one born of respect and shared goals. Back on the Vrel Thar, Saren received word that the enemy was preparing a large attack fleet. The time to act was near. During a quiet moment, Ethan and Saren stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars. "Do you think we can win?" Ethan asked. Saren smiled. "We have no choice but to try." Their hands brushed, a small but powerful connection between two worlds. The storm was gathering. Soon, the galaxy would see what humans and Vreltari could do when they stood as one. The galaxy was tense. Dark clouds of war gathered over countless star systems, and every move counted. The Vrel Thar cruised toward the forgotten frontier planet where intelligence said Ethan Cole was hiding. But this time, Queen Saren wasn't alone. She was ready to face whatever waited, and to reunite with the man who had vanished so long ago. As the ship descended through the thick atmosphere, Ethan's small shuttle landed nearby. The quiet desert world stretched endlessly, a barren place filled with rocky hills and deep canyons, perfect for hiding, but also a dangerous place for enemies. Ethan stepped off the shuttle, his face marked by years of hardship. The once confident mercenary now carried the weight of countless battles and difficult choices. Still, when he saw the Vrel Thar's landing party approaching, his heart beat faster. Saren was at the front, her eyes shining with the same fierce spirit Ethan remembered. "Ethan," she said simply. He smiled, the first genuine smile in a long time. "Your Majesty." They embraced briefly, not as queen and subject, but as two survivors who had shared a moment that changed everything. The reunion was bittersweet. Both knew the dangers ahead, but they also knew their bond was stronger than ever. Inside the small command center they set up on the planet, Saren and Ethan began planning their next move. "The enemy's main base is here," Ethan said, pointing to a holographic map. "Deep in the system's asteroid belt. It's heavily guarded, but if we strike quickly, we can disrupt their fleet," Saren nodded. "We will need allies. Our combined forces must be ready." As they worked late into the night, they shared memories of the past. The night Ethan saved her, the quiet moments on the Vrel Thar, and the years apart. "I never stopped searching for you," Saren confessed. "Neither did I," Ethan replied. "But I had to stay hidden. The enemy is everywhere." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert. Enemy ships were approaching fast. The team scrambled. Fighters launched from hidden bases, and defense turrets roared to life. Ethan and Saren stood side by side, watching the battle unfold on the screens. "We cannot hold them here," Ethan said. "We must take the fight to them." Saren agreed. "Prepare the fleet. We attack at dawn." The night was filled with tense preparation. Soldiers checked weapons, pilots ran final systems, and commanders coordinated plans. Ethan took a moment to look at Saren. "This fight isn't just about survival. It's about proving we can be stronger together." Saren smiled. "Then let's show them what that means." At first light, the combined fleet moved into the asteroid belt. The enemy's base was hidden among massive rocks and debris, protected by layers of shields and fighters. The battle began with fierce energy. Explosions lit the dark space as ships clashed. Ethan led the human fighters, while Saren commanded the Vreltari warships. Despite heavy losses, their forces pushed forward. Using a risky maneuver, Ethan's squadron flew through a narrow canyon of asteroids, surprising the enemy's defenses. Inside the base, Saren's special forces landed and sabotaged key systems, causing chaos and confusion. Together, their efforts broke the enemy's control, forcing a retreat. After the battle, the leaders gathered on the Vrelthar's bridge, exhausted but victorious. "We did it," Ethan said quietly. "But the war is not over," Saren reminded them. "We must be ready for what comes next." As the stars shone outside, Ethan and Saren stood together, knowing their journey had only just begun. The victory at the asteroid base was only the beginning. The galaxy still simmered with unrest, and dark forces gathered strength in secret. Queen Saren and Captain Ethan Cole knew that if they wanted lasting peace, they had to unite more than just armies. They had to unite hearts and minds across species. Back on the Vrelthar, the war room buzzed with activity. Maps and holograms showed fleets moving, alliances forming, and enemy movements shifting. Saren stood at the center, her presence commanding attention. "Today, we have a chance," she told her commanders. "A chance to build a future where humans, Vreltari, and all others live without fear." Ethan stood beside her, ready to support this vision. But he also knew the challenges. Old wounds, deep mistrust, and the scars of war could not be healed overnight, as the leaders planned. Their next moves, news arrived of a surprise attack. A hidden fleet from the enemy coalition had struck a human colony, destroying much of its defenses and threatening innocent lives. Saren's expression hardened. "We must respond swiftly. We cannot allow terror to rule." Together, they led a rescue mission. Human and Vreltari ships flew in formation, reaching the devastated colony before enemy forces could return. On the ground, Ethan worked alongside human soldiers and Vreltari warriors. His experience and bravery inspired those around him. "This is why we fight," Ethan told a group of young fighters. "Not for power or glory, but to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Meanwhile, Saren coordinated the defense, using her tactical skills and alien technology to stabilize the situation. The enemy fleet was pushed back, but the battle left scars, lost lives, broken homes, and renewed fear. After the fight, Ethan and Saren stood together, watching the sun rise over the colony's battered landscape. "We have much work ahead," Saren said softly. "Yes," Ethan agreed. "But together, we can build something better." Their alliance inspired hope across the galaxy. More worlds joined their cause, creating a coalition unlike any before, one based on trust, respect, and shared dreams. As peace slowly returned, Ethan and Saren found moments of quiet together. They talked about the future, about the possibility of a galaxy where differences were strengths, not reasons for war. One evening, under the light of distant stars, Ethan asked Saren a question he had long carried in his heart. "Will you stand with me? Not just as queen and soldier, but as partners in this new world?" Saren smiled, her eyes bright. "Yes, together." The galaxy watched as two very different beings, a human and an alien queen, united not only to save their worlds, but to create a new dawn for all. And in that unity, humanity found its greatest strength.